The good news of Jesus Christ, according to the Gospel of St. Luke in the 17th chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Jesus heals. Again and again in the Gospels, Jesus heals. This very fundamental, basic theology is at the heart of Jesus' whole ministry. He heals in body, like we've seen here in this text and in other gospel readings. He heals the mind as well, and upon the cross, the soul. In doing so, he creates followers, people who see his power and what he can do, that healing, that miraculous work that demonstrates the power of God, the power of the Creator over the creation. And for those who are healed, for their family, for their friends, for others who wish to be healed, to see that is such good news. That is gospel. And yet for others, when they see what Jesus can do, the power that he has, the power that they do not have, it can create fear. In this way, Jesus gets caught up in the political processes of the time, the establishment of the church, the establishment of the Roman Empire. He has power they do not have. And so, in his healing of these 10 lepers, he makes another step closer to Jerusalem, closer to the cross. Jesus heals, even as he goes closer to his own torturous death. There's more to it. Here in this first phrase, we hear that Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, to the cross. That's all packed in there. But there's a little more right after that that maybe we don't catch. There's a preposition involved. Jesus is between Samaria and between Galilee. He is between the outsiders, the Samaritans, the foreigners, as he says here, and the insiders, the Israelites. And in between, he works miracles. He's in between these geographies. He's in between different races, different religions. He's between sickness and wholeness, between death and new life. And there, in between, he meets these lepers, these people that need him so. There, he meets us, in between. They cry out to him to have mercy. I guess that's healing in a way, but I think it's something much, much more. And his mercy happens almost without a word. He doesn't say, "You are healed," or "mercy upon you." He does not touch them or anything like that, but observes this ancient quarantine, if you will, and sends them on their way to be cleared by the priests, the ones that can declare them healed, clean again. It's kind of strange language, isn't it? Clean. It meant just about everything in ancient Judaism and probably in the Samaritan religion as well. They were afraid of the sick. And the theological thinking behind it was, and we see it in history but also in other gospel readings, that the unclean, those who are sick, well, they somehow ran afoul of God. Either they sinned or their parents did or one of their ancestors. This thing is revisited upon generation after generation. So for Jesus to send them to be declared clean again it's more than just a healing of the body, but it's a healing of fractured relationships. They are returned not only to these priests, but also to their family, to their friends, to their community, as whole again and holy again. Being declared clean means they're back in the good graces of God and God's people. You see how it works? If you sin, you are cursed. Sickness, all kinds of other things. But if you are on God's good side, then you are blessed. This is the Deuteronomy, the two laws, the way the ancients understood how it worked. I think we still function in that way sometimes, but in there, where's the grace? Where's the necessity for Jesus? Because in that duplicitous theology, it's all on us, really. If we are bad, then bad things happen. If we're good, then good things happen. That's the deal. Is God so easily manipulated, though? Is God so small? Is that? Jesus represents something else entirely. All they did was approach him and ask for mercy, and they got it and more. Something else is at play here. God's grace is happening. Whatever it was that they did or their ancestors did, it doesn't matter. He sees them. He speaks with them, he interacts with them, he gives them the healing that I would argue they so deserve. Healing comes in this life and the next. Healing comes in the in-between, in the places where we feel set apart, outsiders, by whatever categories are at operation in the society, in our country, in our world. These things don't matter to Jesus, who is in between as well, who is with us, between healing and death, between sin and forgiveness. There we find ourselves, and there Jesus finds us too. This is where he's at. This is where he's come for, to bring God and God's grace to humanity and humanity's sin. Just the last couple of weeks in confirmation, we were talking about the full humanity of Jesus and the full divinity of Jesus. It's a difficult thing to comprehend, and we laid on these 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders a pretty heavy-duty word that I had forgotten since seminary: hypostatic union. How's that for vocabulary? All it means is that Jesus is fully human and fully divine. I wanted to push that with the students and with you all as well. It's not just that Jesus is 100% God and 100% one of us, but Jesus is 100% all of what God is, which I think is something that is quite infinite. And at the same time, Jesus is 100% of all that we are. Not just one of us, but all of us. And in that hypostatic union, Jesus is in between and bringing us across from one side to the other. I think Jesus is right to be astonished that those 10, only one returns and gives thanks. After the miracle of healing that happened for them and the restoration of their whole life, just the one comes back praising God, prostrating himself at Jesus' feet, a position of worship, and Jesus comments on this. As he goes to the cross, only 10% are coming back to give thanks. Not good odds, not good business. It's a pretty low return. But still on he goes. And I think in that leper, he sees many more than just one. But he sees on into the future all of us. I think that leper is us. And I think just what that leper is going through is what drives us to be here together this morning. We come for healing, whatever that might mean in each of our lives and beyond our lives. And we come to give thanks. We come here to this table to give thanks. So often Holy Communion is kind of experienced, I think, as a remembrance of Jesus' funeral or his death, body and blood given. But we have to remember that the first Lord's Supper was an Independence Day celebration. Jesus lifted up a cup of victory and bread of life, celebrative things that represented freedom for God and God's people out of Egypt, back together again in worship and relationship again. It was not a funeral. It was a celebration. And we can hear in the words of institution that he took the bread and the first thing he did, he gave thanks. He took the wine and the first thing he did, he gave thanks. He gave thanks like the leper gave thanks. The word in the Greek for this leper and the word in the Greek for the Holy Supper of thanks are the same root word, Eucharisto or Eucharistia. It means thanksgiving. You'll see so often when I lift up the bread and lift up the wine, I will smile. Because it's not a funeral. It's a celebration of forgiveness, of life, of healing, of finding ourselves in between, and there in between, Jesus finds us. Finds us in bread. Not symbolically, but in a physical, in-between presence. Finds us in wine. Not a symbol, but a physical, in-between, true presence. Finds us just as we are. As unclean as can be. Brings us across the in-between. From sin and death to forgiveness and new life. Thanks be to God. Amen.